Welcome to Pro No Coders Office Hours, episode 234. I am your host, Cameron, and I am here with, well, it's pretty quiet right now, but I'm hopeful people will join. If this is your first time watching, people are allowed to join our office hours to ask questions about Bubble, anything from bugs to just common questions, concerns. We definitely try to help out in every possible way. We like to say that you won't suffer alone. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. There's not a whole bunch to go over, obviously, because we rely on audience. But I do want to show you, since last time it was Saturday, episode 228, I think. We were showing one of the apps. I made a Wordle clone, and so we were just going around, sort of getting that to work. I've spent some more time on it. I've actually made some revisions. I've done a couple different things. I'm really excited to show us. Let's see, where is it? So it would be, the Wordle clone. Amazing. Oops, got to fix the screen. Perfect. So let's see, we have an issue. Looks like we were trying to add something. Okay. Go ahead and preview this. And so it works just like Wordle does. So we have a grid here, 5 by 5, and admittedly, it is much more difficult to play this game when there are only 5 rows instead of 6. But here's our keyboard. Let's start with ready. Ooh, press the enter button. Doesn't look like that worked for us. Well, I love starting off office hours with the bugs. So let's go ahead and see exactly what's going on. Let's go to the record or inside the database here. App data, we're going to go to word submissions. And we're going to see that it looks like this did submit. So if we go ahead and just refresh the page, it should automatically send us right back. Very strange. Let's see, did it create a new record now? No, still showing ready. Let's do this. Oops. Well, we have encountered a new bug, it looks like. Wonderful. Okay, not a problem. So what we've discovered is that when a user is not signed in and it loads, well, there you go. It has a problem. I know that with the logic and the way that it looks at everything, it does require a user to be signed in. So what we can do first and foremost before we do anything is we can go ahead and actually design the system for the user to sign in. Now, let's go ahead and get this real quick. This should be my password. Oh, login, I mean. All right, let's just sign up. Oh, that's not the password. Oh, no. We are just going to create a brand new account. There we go. We'll refresh it. So now I'm a little bit more confident in this working here. So one of the reasons why we're going to be getting this bug is look at all of these accounts here just populated because it was already registered to this particular user. All of those blank spots, it looked at my local session history and then automatically assigned this user value here. So let's go ahead and make this as simple as possible for us. Get a fresh, clean start here. There we go. We are finally on our way towards it working. So identifying the bug that we ran into, what we discovered is that when there's not a user, these records do get a bit confused and everything gets a little bit, would you say, weird. let's see what we can actually do here. So we have several different things going on, and we can actually filter this by things that aren't keyboard specific. You can see that I have a bunch of different keys, and when they're pressed, they do a particular thing. And in this case, what we're doing is we're taking the input value and we're appending whichever letter we are clicking. And so for this case, we're adding to the input value that letter B. That's just the way that we're going to actually have a keyboard work here. So I want to look at things that don't have a keyboard, and I want to go ahead and look at, let's see, we want it to focus. We want the list to change. So we do have several set focus to inputs, just the event something happens. So when the page is loaded, what we're going to be doing is we're searching for the word submissions of this current user. And then we have this time formatted where we're looking at the hour. And then we have the date formatted where we're looking at the month, day, and year. And so this helps us because we actually have a workflow on the back end where every hour it changes a word. You can see I'm using the random function here. So it just goes through the list. We have this record here called word list. It's one big record full of a bunch of different words. What we're doing, we're taking the first item of that word list, split by a line break, taking a random item and then trimming it to make sure that there's no spaces. We'll then create a new stat record, which has a word of the hour, and the date. And so this is why we're actually taking, what's this? Look at that. It could be a reason why we just ran into what we ran into. Let's do A, S, F, and E. Why would I do that when we could do this? We can come back to that. Okay. So when the page is loaded, we're displaying the word submissions here, where the word submission is going to include the current user. It's going to include the hour formatted as this number here, converted to a number. And then, of course, the month, the day, and the year. So what we ran into here was that we actually submitted a word. And then what? So we submitted a word and then it didn't work. That's really strange. What I would go with then is potentially, because this is what happens when we click enter and the number of characters is 5. Okay. And what we're doing here is we're extracting it. We're just making sure that there's no spaces. Or actually, this is going to be no numbers, just words. And then we're using regex to isolate the actual text in this case. We're converting it to uppercase because the regex function that we're using is only looking at uppercases. Let's go ahead and add display data, display list in a repeating group. We can actually use this reference here. So we're using wordboard RG. Okay, we're going to copy that. I'm curious. So if we go ahead. setting up a logout here. We're going to do this only when the current user is logged in. I guess we're just so when the user is logged in, or let's see, this needs to actually be switched when the user is logged out, and then when the user is logged in. So when the user is logged in, we'll log them out. When the user is not logged in, we'll go ahead and start this process. Looks like we have a friend here that joined us. Hey, Harsha, how you doing?
Hi. Hi, Kam. Good morning.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. What about you?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining us today. Looks like it's
Yes.
just you and I. Do we have more people joining us? Sweet. So since you're here, what can I help you with?
Yeah.
Please is the word.
Yeah, Kam, I have a small doubt on like what I can say date manipulation, something like that. So can I share my screen?
Yeah, absolutely. Love to help you out. Hey, Sebastian, welcome.
Hi.
Hope you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can.
So here we're displaying like all the months. Okay. So
Okay.
if I click on next, it will be like going to the next month. But when it comes to like April, I don't know why it's not displaying it. But even if I go back, I can see January till. But if I come back, it's going to empty.
So we're only given, it looks like 3 days, 3 months here that we're able to actually see in this.
Yes. So the thing is, in the transits we have months. So all January, February, March with the month number. Okay. So in the front end, um, all months. Okay, options, filtered. So with the repeating the I'm passing in some custom state whenever I click on some value like
Mhm.
3 plus one like that.
Yep.
So here I'm filtering with that and first time display.
Okay, gotcha. First question I'm going to have is in your option set. Is every month, are we positive that it has a numerical value associated with it?
Yes, every month they have some value like
Okay.
from January 1, February 2, 3 like that.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's really interesting that this isn't working, especially if there are numbers associated with this. And so we're filtering for the month which is the number is the repeating groups. Let's see, repeating group candidate profile month. Okay. And then we're taking the first item's display and we're just,
Yeah.
okay. Go ahead and go back to the front end for me. I want to see that in action. I'm curious though. So when we do a step-by-step, I wonder, do we get any actual information through the console there when we click on step-by-step and then click that arrow? So it's going to go ahead and set the state month. And so this is 3.
That's two. So I'm adding plus one. So it will be three.
Gotcha. Okay.
So again, when I click from March, so it's three right before. So I'm adding plus one. So it will be four.
And it goes to 0. Okay. Now take that inspect element. Yeah. And hover over that text. It says empty because.
So four.
Yep. Has all the numbers. I see that. Or it has at least the list item. Says that it's in position 4. Then we do filtered by. Let's click that filtered button. So the constraint is empty. Oh, that's very interesting. Do we have data in the month of March in this case?
You're saying regarding this data?
Yeah, exactly. Because that number, it's looking at this repeating group's candidates month, correct?
No, we don't have that on that month.
So do me a favor, go ahead and can you create a test record by any chance? Using that month and see if maybe then it actually loads, because it looks like it's trying to find data, but it can't find any of that data. So it's passing in, well, no data in this case.
Okay. Open it.
And the that state, that repeating group value, it takes the user's date. Which record is that exactly?
Yeah,
Is it
so
qualified awaiting? Okay. So we'll add that to April and we'll see if that we can go ahead and, so we're removing February, correct? And going to April.
so we got Joy Ninja. Okay. March. No.
That's interesting. Now, another thing that I guess I also want to ask is when we click that arrow, it should be loading new data in that repeating group, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it seems like we're having a problem with that repeating group actually then changing when we change it. One of the ways that I suppose that we could change this is have it just increment by 1, irrespective of the candidates month. What we'd be doing is we'd be looking at the option set number value, and then we're just displaying that month. Go ahead and click on the repeating group for me, because that's how we're going to be displaying the data. So in your design tab. Okay, and so we're searching for candidate profiles. Okay, so we'd also want to add a new constraint here, I suppose. This is up to you, but what we'd want to be doing is comparing it to that state's value. Now, another thing that I'm thinking is this qualified awaiting resume date. So the custom state uses a number, an integer, 1 through 12, or 1 through 13, right? Because we're adding +1. So March in this case is going to be, let's see, yeah, 1 month plus 3, or 1 month plus 1. I mean, oops. Custom state is a month, and we're passing in the profile month +1. Okay, we're passing in that repeating group's profiles month.
Yes. So this repeating we have state here. So month number, I'm incrementing that.
Okay, I see that. The data source search for candidate profile. So, yeah, let's click on the search for candidate profiles. I just want to take a look. But yeah, so that's going to be the reason why we're running into this error and why the data isn't switching, because we're not actually comparing, I don't believe. Well, no, we're passing that custom state. The way that I would do this is I would refine my repeating group based on that custom state's value instead of doing a search in the way that we are currently having it set up. So a tricky one for sure, but ultimately it looks like the reason again that data isn't loading is just because there wasn't a record set for that month. Now I am seeing that you switched it, right? Are we looking at just the first month? Is that what's going on with this? We're not looking at the overall date, we're just looking at the month. Is that how we're comparing this data?
For the time now, I didn't like link to this thing to the repeating group, but I will link that in the next stage. But the thing is, when I just go on click on next, I'm not able to see these upcoming months like April or the thing.
Yeah, that definitely I understand that. So I think it would provide a little bit more clarification in the event, like let's say that repeating group then filtered the data correctly. I think we'd be able to understand a little bit more easily why that label isn't showing up. But based on what we saw through that debugger, the data it's looking for is empty. So if it's not able to find anything, it's going to pass in a null, which then prevents any kind of data from actually being loaded. And that's because we're comparing it to that employer's month in this case. You'll go ahead and do it again. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, then what I do, I just create some data regarding to the April month, then I will test it out whether it's working or fine.
I have a lot of confidence that is going to solve it. It's just going to need that data to actually pass in because that state is dependent on a particular records data. And if there is no record with that month, then it's probably not going to show up. Now, one of the issues you're going to run into is though you're going to want these months to routinely show up, even if there is no data. So we do want to sort of reconsider the way that we're approaching this instead of looking at potentially this candidates month. We could just be looking at the repeating group in general and saying when we click, we're just taking this value +1 instead of looking at the candidate's value +1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's how I would approach it. Just so that those labels don't ever disappear. Because what we want to do really is just cycle through that option set. And if we just increment the value of that state one by one, eventually then we'll be able to get those labels to show up. You are going to want to set conditionals though, especially since there's only 12 months in a year. Potentially, I'm trying to think, do you want to have it cycle or do you want to have it stop at December so you can't go any further than that? Or when you get to December, do you want it to circle around back to January? So you would just go ahead and set conditionals on your button click and say when the value is this amount. Let's say the value is 13 and we want to, that would, I guess, represent December in this case. And we want to go to January. You would just say when the state is 13, the next value of the state is going to be 13 minus 12. So it should just pull up January. So just using, a combination of conditionals is going to be able to get you to where we're looking at that state and only that state. And then inside a repeating group, inside the actual data, the data that we'd add a constraint and we just look at a value within that user's record. We'd say, let's say month number in this case, since our option set is dependent on numbers. We could also use the text because we are using Jan, Feb, March, July, so on and so forth. I can show you real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Sure. Go ahead and go to the Sandbox real quick. I'll show you what I do in a series of, or in a bunch of different applications that I use. So this one in particular, I go ahead and create a submission, or I create a value. I'm trying to see where it would be. Where I format the text or the date as a text rather than an actual date. And this allows me to modify this value. So the date format is in shorthand February. You could also just do this in this case where you actually type in 3 M's and you'd get February as well. So you could look inside your repeating group and you could say agents month equals date formatted as this or something of this sort where you can actually use a text value. So what I'm ultimately getting at is that you're going to want to set a constraint in your repeating group that either uses text to look at the date or a number to look at the date, because what we're doing is we're comparing to the option set, and the way that your option set was set up, it has this specific, 3-letter shorthand months. So I wanted to show that just as an example of what you could do, but that's going to be the way that you solve it for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Glad I got to help you on that. Did that answer your question?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right, Sebastian, we're helping you out now. We're going to take some time and see how you're coming along with your app.
Cool. Yeah, I'm really progressing. I'm really happy about that. And sometimes I get stuck, and then I fight a little bit more, and then I solve it, and then I get stuck, and then I go into NoCoders.
Yeah, the life of bubbling. Heck yeah. Well, at least you're making progress.
Yeah. So I was thinking a little bit about what I would ask about, but let's so we can start here. So I have this process of inviting users, and I really got great help from you, Cameron,
Awesome.
figuring out how to use the URL and to get data from. So here I have the team 1, I have the company and a company ID, and the company I'm inviting to is Zika. This is a mail that's going from me as an admin to one of the team managers. And then they click on the link, and in order to work a little bit easier with this, let's see, I have included some variables. So this is a sign up manager. That's correct. And if I have a sign up, I also have a sign up for employees. Let's see. We can try that later. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. You just have 2 sign up pages that use those URL parameters.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Sorry. Let's see. I'm just gonna go log in as a user. Yeah. See, there's something I need to figure out, because it's overloading. There's data disappearing in some sense. So I need to somehow saving over data. But this is the manager view, and here I have. This is a good question for me right now. I have a stage where I invite users, and when I invite them up here, they become pending users. And the pending users, they have all the information that I need, so that's good. But how do I add? Could I add several emails at a time?
So you want to know if we can use a list in our emails?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Typically, you can separate them by commas, but the best way to try this out is the best way to discover whether or not we can is to try it out. Have you tried using commas in this case?
No,
And,
no.
Okay.
In this one.
Yeah, and now also though, I do want to give you a definitive solution because I'm just
Mhm.
speculating here. I'm wondering myself if we could use commas because in a lot of different applications you can. Um, but another way that we could do that is if we wanted to invite multiple people, we
Mhm.
could use a recursive workflow to do that.
Mhm.
And so we'd create a backend workflow.
Mhm.
We'd be passing in the parameter list of users, and the list of
Mhm.
users would be this value. It would be, well, all the emails that we add separated by a comma. So we'd be able to click add user and we'd be able to do a handful of things, whether or not you
Mhm.
wanted to. Oh yeah, no, actually, yeah, we'd be able to do exactly what we want in this case, which would
Mm.
be to email them and then add them as pending users.
Mm.
So if I recall correctly, you do have a record called pending users, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And so that's exactly how I'd approach it in this case. So right now, is your email field set up as an email?
Yeah.
We might want to set that up as a text.
Oh.
And the reason why we'd want to do that is just so that we can pass in a list of text in this case.
Yeah.
So we click that. Yep. And when we do that, it looks like what you have now is you reset the relevant inputs, you create a new pending user, and you send an email.
Yeah.
So we're actually going to do something slightly different. We'll keep it as it is right now, not a problem, but I want you to go to your backend workflows. And we're going to call this whatever you want to, maybe pending email list. So new API workflow. And typically you can't have spaces, so you may want to put underscores or make them one word. Okay, cool. So next we want to add a parameter to this workflow. So click back on API workflow. Oh, nope, you're there. Just click on that block. Yep, and then add new parameter. And we can call this pending. And then the type is going to be text. Perfect. It is a list. So select is a list array. Yep, perfect. We don't need any other parameters because all we're passing through is that text. But now we need to actually start the process of cycling through all of the users. So first and foremost, what we're probably going to want to do is similar to how it's set up on your other page, where we create a pending user. And then the email that we're going to add is going to be pending first item. Cool. And then I guess if we're going to be adding company name as well, I apologize. We do want then another
No, it's only email. Sorry. It's only email.
That's right.
No,
yep. Okay.
No. I mean, we're connecting all the emails to a specific company name.
Yeah, well, it's not too big of a deal whatsoever to add a company as well. All we need to do is add another parameter called company name and then just pass that through.
Yeah. Here.
Yeah, exactly. Go click on that API workflow block again.
Okay.
And then as a parameter, we're going to include the team or the company. Yeah.
Oh. Company, where does it retrieve the company here?
So we can pass that in more than likely through one of the groups, or if the page is set up as the company page.
Current user's company is company name.
The current user is probably going to be the admin though. So as long as
it's the manager for the team.
Perfect. Yep. Then that's exactly what you do. Absolutely. Sweet. Okay. Then we just need to send an email. So next thing is let's construct that send email. And this is going to go to the user. In this case, the user's first item, or the pending first item, rather. Because again, what we're doing is we're passing in a list of texts. So
Yeah.
all of this information, you can set it up as you see fit.
Yeah. And then the same information here.
Cool. And then last but not least, the only next thing that we need to do is we need to create another API workflow that just points back at API workflow pending list. So schedule an API workflow. No, right where it says click to add action, just on that work. Yep, on that event. Yep. Perfect. Schedule API workflow. And then the workflow is pending. Yep. We'll say current date plus 1 second. I like adding a second in between things. Keeps it from breaking. So this is where we're actually going to be making the changes to our list. We're going to select pending. We're going to say minus item. It's actually a word, minus item. Yep. Then pending. First item. Cool. And then the company, we want to keep the company the same. So we can do the same work or the same what we had done, current users, company's company name.
Yeah.
And then we'll only do this only when pending. Nope, pending.
Yeah, only when pending
Count is greater than. We want to use the greater than sign. Yep. 0. Cool. And so now all we need to do is test it. So, well, actually, before we need to hook it up, really. So let's go back to the page where we have the stages. And so we can actually get rid of this. We can keep reset relevant inputs. That's not a bad thing there. So let's delete create new pending user. And now we're just going to schedule an API event. Yep. Oh, not a custom event. We want to schedule an API workflow.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No worries. Cool. API workflow is the one we just made. Scheduled date is current date. Pending is going to be the value, the input. And then what we want to do is we want to split that. So type in split. And since we're doing it by commas, we'll just add the text separator, a comma. We'll just put a comma there and then close it. Cool. And then the company will be current users. And then last but not least, because we actually added the dynamic data of the current user's company name here, let's go back into our workflow real quick. Let's go ahead and remove company name, remove that dynamic value and just put company. Okay, sweet. And the last thing that I actually am thinking about here.
We did it once more right here.
Oh, yes. Want to reset that there too. And the last but not least, I'm thinking that what we're going to end up wanting to do when we're creating a new pending user. Let's go ahead and click on that real quick, though, on the first action on this workflow. We're going to do first item, and then we're going to trim it. So first item and then trimmed. And this is going to get rid of any white space. So it's just going to be a valid email for us. Let's do that one more time on step 3. Yep, right there, trimmed. And this should work the way that we want it to. So we'll go ahead and head back to our actual site. We'll test it out with a list of emails. In fact, I'll put in chat if you don't mind including me in this.
Sure.
I've included 2 emails for you in chat. If you want to go ahead and take those, just copy and paste them inside that email field.
It's Wilder Booth. It's no space between.
I don't believe you need a space. Now, one of the things that we might want to do, though, we are already using a trim function. So we are telling the system to get rid of any white space. But what I would do is if we're going to be creating a list, we have a delimiter. We have that delimiter set as just a comma. If you do plan on including a comma and a space, I would change that delimiter that we've set from just a comma to a comma and space. Because every single time it looks and finds a comma and space, it'll create a new item. Otherwise, every single time it finds a new comma, it'll create a new item with the way that it's currently set up. But let's go ahead and try that out. So it should take 3 seconds to get this going, right? That's the idea. So I just got one email. I just got the other email. So I just got 2 of those emails. And you should have just received one as well.
Yeah.
Sweet. So it works. It sent us 3 emails. We sent in 3 names, and then heck yeah, that's how you do it.
Right. Let's see. Let's just look at planning users. Yeah.
Looks like it created an empty space, didn't it?
Yeah.
Now, I think one of the reasons maybe it didn't include the company is because I think that record, if I'm not mistaken, if we go to data types and then pending users, company name is set as a company name, not a text, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're passing in a text as that parameter. And so what we're going to want to do is just change it from a text to an actual company name.
Okay. And oh, okay. Like this.
Yeah, that should be exactly it.
Cool.
Now, real quick, before you actually do that, go back to your designer real quick. And you also probably may need to delete those pending. I'm not sure. I don't think you actually need to delete those pending records, but I do want to check when we click that button. Let's go back to the workflow for when we click that button. Yeah, there we go. So now we need to change this to the current user's company. And then real quick, before we do that, one more time, let's just make sure that in the backend that nothing was disrupted as well. So let's go back to our backend workflow. Cool, that's good. And then create a new pending email. Yep, there we go. We're gonna want to switch that to just company name, I guess, yeah. Okay. And sweet. That should add the company name there. But we'll wait and see. We'll fingers crossed, knock on wood. You just sent those 2 off. Cool. Just got 1, just got 2. Awesome.
Oh, sorry. Pending users.
Go to the data type for me real quick. Go to pending users, company name. Oh, company name is a text. Okay.
Mhm.
So let's undo what we just did. Let's switch the parameter back to a text.
But it's, yeah, it's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be company.
The actual company field. Then yeah, go ahead and create inside pending users a new record where company name equals company. And then you're going to have to go back into your workflow and change that back to company. But now keep in mind when doing this, you'll also have to change the action where when you're actually creating a company. Well, actually, I don't want to misspeak. I just want to double check or just make sure that we're adding all the right information where it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's all we gotta make sure of is that we're just putting the information where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But cool. I'll let you do that in the background.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hop back to Harsha.
Cool.
Harsha, you're still with us. Do you have another question? And absolutely, Sebastian, anytime, man. Want to page Harsha here, see if there's anything else that we can help you with.
For the time, no, Cameron.
All right, no worries. You still working on the custom state value?
Yeah, I'll be working on that.
Do you want me to take a look and see what's going on? Or are you confident in doing that yourself?
Yeah, let me share my screen. You can.
Okay.
Yeah, so from when I can start?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Perfect.
So here now we are just taking all months. Should I clear everything?
Yeah, so is it still the same from last time we saw where it says filtered?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we could do is we could set a state, if I had to guess now, all months filtered for Saturn, where we could do the constraint where repeating groups candidate profiles month is this month's number. I mean, like I said earlier, you could just add that data to have where there is a candidate's profile month and it actually includes a particular number. Otherwise, I want to experiment with setting sort of like a state on that particular text. So we'll go ahead and yeah, I suppose that if you'd like, we can go ahead and try to think of the best way to do this, because I know that you'd probably put a lot of time and thought into this, and I'm trying to not destroy everything you created.
Should I clear everything?
Yeah, we can try it. Just make sure that you save it or have the ability to go back to it.
Yeah, I saved it.
Wonderful. Okay, so inside this, the appearance. So we need to do a couple different things. We could set a state on the page. We could look at the page's state, and this could then set the that value there. So I would say we could start with an integer, so just a number, yeah. And so every arrow click will be setting the page's state in this case. So what we're going to do now is we're going to search for an option set, or we're going to get an option. And it's going to be of the months. Yep, and we'll get all options. And now we'll filter it by the state of the page. So all months, and then we could actually start with where the constraint is. Let's do a search for the option, or let's delete that real quick. Was it this month? Oops, yeah, go back real quick because there was the option of this month, and I want to see if that'll work. month num equal or is, then finances or this page's states value. And then first item. And then display. Okay, cool. Now what we need to do is we just need to set the state for when we click that arrow. And we should also more than likely set a default value for this page's state. So when we load it, there's always a value, which means there's always a display or always a label.
Yeah. So when the page loads, I'm just setting the state.
Yeah, so you could do that, or you could just pass in a default value on the page's state already. So 2 ways of doing it. And one of the things that you could do, one of the benefits of having it on page load is that you could set the state to the value of whichever current month we're in. So just that if you're actually headed there, you'd be able to load up, let's say it's the month of February, you just automatically load February. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So current date and then custom format or formatted as that. Yep. And just M, I think. Yep. And we'll need to convert that to a number. Cool. And so every single time we load whatever month it is, then this display or this repeating group should have that label. Man, I love those birds. They sound so nice.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm just hearing the birds. They sound nice.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. So yeah, now we should be able to get this working at least. So on page load, it sets February. Okay, that's very strange. Go ahead and back to go to recruitment, Joe, real quick. Yep, click on that one there. Go back to your design. We're going to click on that. Yep, all months filtered, and click on filtered again. Okay, and do me a favor. Let's go to our option set. So go to data, then option set, and let's take a look at the months. Let's go to modify attributes for April.
For April?
Yep. So April doesn't have a number. There we go. That's one of the big reasons. So let's go ahead and see about all the other months as well. Let's just double check ourselves and make sure May has 5 and so on and so forth.
Cool.
So I'm thinking this is probably the issue. So maybe perhaps the way that you had it work is exactly the way it could work. And we're just going and doing it a little bit differently, but I'm under the assumption here that this should remedy our problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the issue.
Perfect. So yeah, a couple different ways to go about it. Just make sure that the option set has that data inside it. But last but not least, I do want to go over one particular thing that I had mentioned earlier about what we're going to do when we're actually navigating on those arrows. So we have months from month 1 to month 12, right?
Yes.
So let's go back to our design, or I'm sorry, let's go back to our workflow. That's where it's going to be. And so we want to set this conditional to where it's only when, because we're adding one, right? Oh, let's go back to that state where we were setting it on the arrow when it's clicked right. My bad. Let's go to when icon iOS arrow right is clicked. Perfect. So we want to set a conditional here. We want to only add one when the month value is less than 12. And so let's copy set states. Let's copy step 2 and make another one. Yep. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set it when it's equal to 12. I would just do is. You got to do is, that's equals. Yeah. And so now we're going to minus 11 because we want to go all the way back to January. And so it's with this kind of logic. So now what we're going to expect is that every single time the number is under 12, it'll add 1. But then when we get to 12, it'll reset us all the way back to January.
Yeah,
Let's go ahead and try that out real quick. Just want to make sure that that works. That's the idea, at least.
But we don't have some empty constraint. That's fine.
Oh yeah, I wonder. I don't know. We'll find out though, right?
July, August, September, October, November, December.
Yeah, there we go. And we're back at January.
Yes. Okay.
Sweet. And so it's going to be the same way when you're going backwards as well. Instead of minus 11, you'll just more than likely add 11. So, but yeah, super glad that at least we got that fixed. Now the next step is just linking that repeating group data to look at the state value.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rock on.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Sebastian, I'm going to hop over to you real quick. We only have a couple more minutes left. I want to see if you were able to get what you needed to.
Sure. I got the company.
Oh, so you did get. Oh, perfect.
I get the company to work, but there's one strange bug. If I only add one email here, Sebastian.
You want to share your screen for me real quick?
Yeah, sure. So if I only add one like random email, if I add two, test@tester.se. If I add two, the first is added, and then the second one here, I think, yeah. But it also adds an empty space. And if I only add one, it did that down here when we tried before. And if I only tried one email, it added an empty space.
All right. So we're saying to this workflow, run only when you're greater than 0, right? So it's going to get to 0. And I'm wondering if then it also sees itself and says, oh, do me a favor. Let's go back to our backend workflow. Let's change that conditional from only when it's greater than 0 to is greater than or equal to 1. Yep. Go ahead and enter a single email and let's see if that makes it a little bit better for us. Oh, you're frozen. Sebastian, you still there? Sebastian, I think we lost Sebastian.
Yes.
Man, yeah, he's gone. He disappeared. Sebastian, no. I'll wait a couple more minutes or a couple more moments because we just hit the hour mark here and we're about to go to after office hours.
Yeah.
All right. I think, yeah, we lost him. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and conclude this office hours here. We'll sign off with his departure. We'll go ahead and transition to after office hours now, where you can go ahead and ask questions that are maybe a little bit more intimate and not meant for a public viewing. Those after office hours are extended to our office hour members that you can sign up for at pronocoders.com. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, guys.